Farm for Profit Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm for Profit Podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm for Profit Podcast.
We're excited here to be at Commodity Classic in Denver, and we're really excited about being able to share with our listeners some insights on how to get some of these massive yields that we see awards given for. It's exciting for me because I know some of those seem like unachievable numbers, but they do it day in and day out. So I want to thank everybody for listening, especially you guys, listeners that have been with us from the beginning. Thanks for telling your friends, your family, and everything about Farm for Profit. Certainly do really appreciate all of that. If you're new, please go leave us a review or send us a message for a guest or somebody you want us to talk to, 515-207-9640. But I think it's time here to jump into our high yield conversation with folks sitting here at the AgX booth. So why don't you each take a turn introducing yourself. John, you start first because you're probably the most familiar to our audience, and we'll just come right on down the line.
I'm John Murphy, Director of Agronomy at AgXplore.
Billy Carter, Kentucky Sales Agronomist for AgXplore.
Mitchell Pascal, lifetime farmer.
And where are you from, Mitchell?
Murray, Kentucky.
Murray, Kentucky. Well, perfect. So we're National Corn Growers Association high yield contest. I might have relayed this last night. So we're from Iowa, and every time I hear like a national winner, they're always from the South. What is up with that? Like you'd think Iowa has the best soils, like we'd have it, but you guys in the South seem to get better yields. You got any reasoning behind that?
I really don't. I've wondered that for years. When I was younger, we was starting out 150, 160 bushel acre was just the best you could do. And, it crept up a little bit over the years, but after 2012, we come back online after the drought. I noticed we started, we was over 200, hitting 230 and 40 on dryland corn. But I noticed y'all gentlemen wasn't gaining on us. I mean, we gained on y'all, and y'all just sat there. And I don't know what that reason is. Billy might have a little more about that.
It's a good question. I think it gets to the farmers. I think the honest part of the question is, in your all's world, you've made 230, 240 corn for a lot of years, right? Comfortable. Paid a lot of bills with it. And us, we was always striving to catch and beat someone. I don't think they've ever had to strive to beat.
Maximize your yield potential with John Deere Planter Precision Upgrade Kits. Planting's one of the biggest factors in your farm's success, but we know margins are tight, and a brand new planter might not be in the budget. But that's why John Deere gives you the power to upgrade.
Boost speed with ExactEmerge, optimize product placement with individual row hydraulic downforce, ExactShot, and Furrow Vision, or enhance efficiency with ExactRate. Don't forget about the upgrades in LED lighting and the frame weight distribution. Get the latest technology without replacing your planter.
Set yourself up for success this planting season. Visit johndeere.com or contact your local dealer today. Yeah, that's kind of interesting when you think about it in that perspective. I mean, we're the Farm for Profit podcast, so even though you can get big yields, we still also care a lot about what that profit margin is. But it's exciting because it's that fast car. It may have capabilities of going 200 mile an hour, but how many times are we going to actually drive at 200 miles an hour?
So what does it take to be high yield? 250, 300, 275, 285, 310, 20? Like how high do we got to go to be high yield?
That's each to his beholder. I mean, where he's been and where he's trying to go. I mean, we started in on it. We'd had some dryland corn in a perfect year, get up there at 260 and 70. Well, we wanted to take our irrigated, our special ground, and we wanted to get over 300, and we did it this year. So where we go from here, I don't know. Me and Billy's hoping to break the state record at some point, but hey, it may not be in the cards.
I think it's a golf game. So we're all put in certain parts, latitude, longitude, farm backgrounds, or soil resources that we have. And we look at guys that's making 600 bushel corn, and that's great. So we consider that high yielding. But your high yielding may be 175 on a 3 CEC soil with 2.5 inches of rainfall a year. So you may go to 190 and be a high yielder. So I think it's a golf game. I think we got to play against ourselves each year, be honest with what we have, be honest with what we're able to do, and go from there.
Yeah, it was neat. We got to spend some time with you guys last night and recognize some of those high yield contest winners. But overall, AgX, John, the team that you've put together, you work with a lot of very high-yielding growers.
Yeah, so I'm more like the caddy if we're going to go with the golf game. The agronomist just goes along and just has the funny little parts that they go in, right? And so that's one reason I enjoy getting to work with these guys. We spent most of the morning working with your growers, is they let me jump into the base agronomics of it, right? Because we always think about all the staves going all the way around the barrel, right? We're all familiar with that. But we have to figure out how they all link together, because as we want to continue to push, it's about linking all the small details, right? Those demand curves. When is it needed? How much is needed? When are you guys going to be able to get in the field? And what source and what rate are we going to apply it? So it's really taking strong agronomics and tying them into what your guys' goals are.
So what I heard was teamwork, because there was a lot of different decisions to be made there. Is Mitchell, how, like you decided to get in this contest? I think you told me last night your kid wanted to be in it. Was that right? Or you gave your kid permission
that's fine,
to go with it? So you gave your kid might have said, all right, hey, we're going to enter in this. We're gonna go this route. Is it the product? Is it the timing? Is it all of the above, that the decisions that John's telling you when, where, how? Like, what's the perfect package? I want 300 bushel corn.
I look at it this way. We as farmers have got boxes we've got to check. And I mean, you got to check them all. It starts with the planter. Everybody knows that. I've been to the high yield talk for many, many years. Starts with the planter, but the farmer checks all these boxes, picks out his variety. You know, I ain't gonna go through all the boxes. You check all your boxes, but when you get done with them boxes, it still ain't about you. It cannot. It will at some point not be about what you did. And I told a story to probably you last night, and my wife may not want me to tell it, but when we'd been married a few years, and we kind of got together, and I was understanding her as much as a man can understand a woman. I could look at her face and see what mood she was in. So I come in one day and look up at her, and oh boy, what have I done? So I just walk over to her and I say, what did I do now? She never hesitated. She looked at me and she said, it ain't always about you. And that's the way it is with the corn. It ain't always about you. You got to do your part, but Mother Nature, the weather's going to set you back somewhere.
I know. I can see her smiling too. She knows exactly the truth behind that. And I love that you just told our listeners that, because it is. You could try and do everything right in your phrase, check all the boxes, and you still have to deal with Mother Nature if you're not running any type of an irrigation, and you're still going to have a lot of different things that are out of your control as you put that together. So, Billy, when you're working with your customers, I want to be able to tell our listeners and the people that are standing here watching what we're talking about today, can we lay out a roadmap in this conversation as to kind of how you address it?
I think absolutely you can lay out a roadmap. So I think about this past year, I had 16 guys in the contest. I had 300 guys over 300 bushel in 7 different states. I'm looking down here at guys that had 330s, 340s. I've had my national winners. We're all running the exact same program. There is, whether I'm in Pennsylvania, New York, or the most amazing part is in Missouri. I work in the Ozark Hills in Missouri, a little town called Falcon. It's all chert rock. They have no soil. And I got third in Missouri last year with 301, and second Missouri irrigated with 306 this year in chert rock, in where they don't even grow corn. And it's the same program as the Alka boys in southern Illinois. There's running. This was their first year with me. They had a 40-some plus bushel swing this year on the program, on what they was doing. This is the first year that Mitch and I have won the state. Other growers around here that we've won it several years, but he's been in the top 2 or 3. But we just upped the program and got a little bit more on the thing. But it's the same thing. It's not quitting on your crop.
Yep.
It's realizing we're farming sunlight, water, and the microbials we have. And it is making sure we finish out the crop. So we're spending the most money we can spend on genetics from our seed company. We've got our in-furrows, we've got our 2x2s, we've got our biologicals, we've got our seed treatments. We've invested it every bit up front. Then when we get back there and we start thinking about a post-herbicide spray, hey, we're just going to spray some chemical. We're not going to worry about it. We're setting our rounds right there, right? Yep. And we're just going to do that. Well, you take a program now, you do that. Then we're still growing length, ain't we? Yep. But we forget about growing length. Everybody wants to talk about 16 and 18 round, great, but I want to be 40 up. I don't want to be 26.
Yep.
So then as I come back into that fungicide treatment, we all think, oh, it's dry, we don't have a disease. But the program, you're finishing out to add seed weight because we're selling weight, right? So I'm not using a fungicide for disease. I'm using a fungicide to control my ethylene, slow the senescence of that plant down, and mature it because 99% of us let our crop die instead of mature. And so that's why this simple program works on so many guys is we let a plant mature instead of die.
Yeah, you just said that was a simple program, and I'm just glad we've got it on recording because I'll have to listen to it again. But that's what I assume, John, when you've got guys like Billy working with these growers, because I caught it. It wasn't just you that won. The two of you worked together on getting to that. So, John, how's that? When you talked about earlier getting pieces put together and you're going to tie everything from beginning to end.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, so I mean, when we think about how are we going to yield, whether we're talking high yield or we're talking, just our production acre, you can take everything they started with and we have to start breaking down the pieces, right? Because our total yield is driven by how much photosynthesis we produced all year and what our grain fill is. And so we have to start pulling out those individual pieces that we have that are going to build that. And that's one thing I enjoy about being able to work with these guys is we just spend a few hours looking at soil tests as we base them off very solid agronomics. We look at demand curves. We look at how much nutrients you guys are going to need. And then we figure out those little missing pieces, right? Those PGRs that we can add in that help to bump things just a little bit. Your fungicide, what can we do for crop health to keep that plant going just a little bit further? And so when you get a deal with the guys, that we have right here, it's getting to have that fun part of it that we see on the back end.
How many acres, I don't know this, how many acres do you have to enter to be in a high yield contest?
Acre and a quarter.
Acre and a quarter. Okay, so that seems like a very small deal for all these operators that are standing out here that have 10,000 acres. How do we get 350 or 300 plus consistently over all the acres, not just the one that we dump the clutch on?
That's what you learn from being in the contest. So I have I'm looking over here at a grower across the way which won several contests, and it's a thing he says to all of my growers. You need to be planning you a 10-acre high-yield contest to understand what is profitable on your production acre. And then you start honing it down and taking the pieces. So we take a lot of this, what we learn in our high-yield stuff, and then we put it into our ROI acre, because while it's great to win a contest, we still got to be profitable at the bank. And that's what we do it for education.
Gotcha. Mitch?
I'll just give you a real quick example of what he basically said in farmers' terms. The field our contest is in is a 52-acre SDI system irrigated field. We planted the same population across it, start out the same. Now then, I know because I've been on this farm my whole life, one half of that farm's not as good as the other half. So we're pretty sure going into it when we pick out where we're going to push a little bit that it's going to be on this half of it. So when we get to that point, the SDI system, I've got 10 zones in that field. I've got 10 watering zones. I water 2 of them at a time. So there's actually just 5. So we come up to the point, and Billy comes to me and he said, we're not in trouble in the field in any way. Everything's happy. But let's push somewhere, let's do this. He had a list this long of stuff he wanted to push with. He said, I don't know if there's any ROI in it in the whole field for you, but I want to do the contest there, and let's see. So I went to my son, and I took him Billy's list, and he looks at it and says, Dad, do you have any idea what that's going to cost? I said, I don't have a clue. He said, don't do it on the whole field. I don't know if we can spend another $50. We're at grain field. We're at the tail end of this thing. And I said, okay, let me do it we picked out the zones. Let's do it on 6 and 7. So we did. And then that's where our contest came from. The rest of the field, so the contest was basically 320. The whole field averaged 300. But 2 months later, we're sitting in the office, and I tell my son, I said, pull that yield map up and zero it down to like 5 and 10 bushels apart. Let's see if that strip that we did shows up on that map.
I see.
You see it.
So you can see, even though it wasn't across every acre, rows 6 and 7, definitely.
Them 2 zones shows up on that map. So Cody does the math. He loves spreadsheets. He said, you should have done the whole field.
Because out of the 500 companies or 300 or whatever that's here, everybody's looking for a better commodity, a better ROI, a better cap rate.
Right.
Okay, that's what everybody's here for. with that being said, John, you're an educator. You came from an education background. When we talk about a winning strategy, there's biologicals, there's foliar feed, there's plant growth. Let's back up. Let's start with what variety did we put on? Then we have fertility, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, micronutrients. You guys sell a product at AgX. How much education goes into selling that product beforehand? Because you're not telling them maybe what seed to buy, but you're working with what seed they bought. Maybe I'm a Hogemeyer guy. Maybe I'm a DeKalb guy. Maybe I'm a something else. What's that look like? I mean, we're a company that sells a product, but you're an educator.
Definitely.
How's that work?
Yeah, and so that's one thing we've really started to push over this last year is we have tried to push to show agronomically why do you need something. Like, let's just pick sulfur, right? When we think about sulfur deficiencies, it's across the entire United States, right? About 80% of all of our soils are sulfur deficiency. You sit in front of somebody like Mitch and you explain that to him, he understands it's important. And then once we have the importance to it, what does it do within a crop? Then we start to show a yield bump. But then it comes down to, well, how are we going to get it on, right? Because we can talk about, are we going to put it all on up front, right? Are we going to put on AMS? Are we going to do ATS and a 2x2? Or are we going to come back in with a foliar? And as we think about managing nutrients, we have to take that bigger picture look, right? How are they available? What is the soil moisture like? What is the grain fill duration going to be like? So the education becomes the entire process, but showing people why they need something at a specific time is really what our passion is.
So as the two of you went through the year, what are 1, 2, or 3 things that you saw pay the most dividends that you've made the changes? I know you said you saw the strip, you should have done it to the whole field.
Right.
But what are 1 or 2 things that you've done that really paid off?
I think staying on the fungicide program a little harder than most people do is worth it, and I'll give a little story on how that come about. We was doing the, airplane helicopter application at pollination. We'd already been convinced through our watermelon and stuff that these fungicides, this was back before fungicides was accepted. We knew that they was going to benefit us. So we was doing that one. Well, one year there, it was one of the best corn years we ever had for non-irrigated corn. In the field up at the shop, we consider probably a little not as good as the one we're in down here. So I get up the shop, I shell that front 30 acres, do the math. Wow, 230 bushel of dry corn an acre. This was just crazy, 240, something like that. And I was just crazy. Well, I leave that field, go down the road, and start around this other field where this irrigation system is, and it hadn't been irrigated. We didn't have the irrigation system on it at that point. And I started around it. I don't get all the way around it till I'm calling my son. I said, "What you do different in this field?" He laughed. He said, "I put some fungicide in when I put it at lay-by, a cheap one." I said, "You made this 25 bushel acre better."
Wow.
And now then, we always spray when we do our lay-by. We put a fungicide in, and most places are not going to recommend that.
Yeah, that's. I think we've heard that a lot. Maintaining that program, I think you, John, have told us too. Reducing the stress, get in there timely, whether it's for disease or not.
Yep.
You talk about that all the time, which is neat. What's something you've done that didn't pay off?
You got an answer for that?
Yeah. Man, there's a lot of things in life I've done that have paid off. So I'm trying to think here which one that's going to be. Mitch and Cody and myself, we like to go at stuff. I farm myself. A lot of people say I'm so tight I squeak when I walk. So we're not trying, I know this I'm not trying to sound conceited, we're not trying stuff that we don't think has an extreme chance of success. Because I tell everyone this story since I am in the ag sales business. I need a customer for 30 years, not 1 year. So it's took me a lot of years to build my reputation. So I'm not coming with a gimmick unless I just say, hey, I have no idea if this is going to work, but let's try it. Now I'll do that, but still we try to be sound.
Usually in that instance, he'll say, hey, let me give you 10 gallons of this and let's try it. See
Yeah,
what's
I mean,
it's
just
not he's going to make it come out of my pocket.
It's tough in this market. We went down to 377 corn with a negative basis. We're back up. We got $5 old corn. But it's tough when the salesman comes to you and says, let's try this. I ain't got no room for trying. Not right now.
No.
What's the argument for that? I mean, everybody that's standing here listening, hey, great. I love what you're telling me. Man, my checkbook's tight this year. Man, I kind of like what you're saying. I like the technology, but I don't know.
Everybody loves bushels when they're great, when times are good. You need the bushels at 377. So let's stop thinking about cost per acre and let's start thinking about cost per bushel. So I may have more in a cost per bushel area than I would when I acre it out. But if I'm making the bushels, I'm still cheaper. And I think a lot of us that come from the 80s parents that were taught to go cost per acre, that we still look that way. But these progressive guys, Mitch, the Alkas, Josh Watson, all these, we're cost per bushel. So we'll sit down and take the program and put out what bushel we're wanting, come to our price, and go that way.
Money's made in the margins for sure. So what, Mitch, let's go back to the day you win. What's the first thing you did after you won?
Kept farming is all I know.
Bourbon, I mean, anything,
No.
Kentucky.
Somebody probably just sent me that I'd won. I didn't even know it, and I just kept on doing whatever I was doing. Because I'm an optimistic person, where my son's pessimistic, so we kind of work good together. But on this kind of stuff, it's just like trying to kill a mature, huge deer. I'm never satisfied.
I was going to ask, you're going to try again next year?
I'm never satisfied. You know, we had this field of corn, and it was the best than ever, and we knew it was, and you know, we had some numbers in our head, and yeah, we got out what we got out, and I was happy. Don't get me wrong. But no, we could have done something to make that field better. It was too special, you know.
But here's something special we need to talk about on this right here for the high yield. And we'd done a podcast a while back in Indiana talking about fragipan soils. So in Kentucky, parts of the other U.S., we have fragipan soil. So this man right here is making a 320 bushel corn crop on an 18 to 20 inches of topsoil that was once there. But he has taken his cover crop program, broken that fragipan. First in U.S. history, we've been told now we're having a field day at his farm March 13th. By doing that, he's been able to get rid of water in the spring to plant earlier, have enough water to perk back up when the season's knowing it. And while the yield is great, I think the fact that we have done that through the program that he does with annual ryegrass, how he uses our organic acids from AgXplore to raise the crop, you know, there's more about elevating plant nutrition than just something that comes out of a jug. We also have to do it with our soil resources. And this is a man that does it both ways.
Yeah, that was one of the notes I had to bring up was the fragipan, because a month and a half ago I had no idea what a fragipan even was. So that's really neat to see how not only has science and research figured it out, but the teamwork that AgX is included with making sure these tests get done. But I think of these high yield contests, right, as almost like professional athletes. You know, some professional athletes have superstitions of they don't wash their socks, or you know, they're wearing the same ball cap, or they always listen to the same music. When the planter gets ready to go to the field, do you have a ritual? Is it 2 steps left?
He probably spent all day the day before, or maybe a week or two before, in a good place, just running it without any seed. I mean, we was lining up the press wheels and got all that right. And then I'm really big on the monitor, and I sent Billy a picture of it. I pulled into this field, and it was planting perfect, and I hadn't had my singulation and stuff exactly as good as I wanted it. I mean, it'd been running on the other fields at 98%, most of it spacing. But now in this field where the contest is going to be, where I had the SDI system, where we knew we was 300 bushel corn possibility, I wanted it perfect. So I messed with it, finally get it like I wanted it. I sent him a picture of the monitor, and what was it?
99.9.
In singulation and spacing. And it was planting perfect, and every stalk came up. This is what we want. Every stalk came up within the same 24 hours. And that's not in our area, and this is something my son's kind of brought to the table. We had always planted corn whenever the temperature got to 55 degrees, soil temperature, whether it's 1st of April or middle April, we'd always plant it. Because Daddy's old adage was we got to get it tossling and get the ear set 4th of July rains. It's always going to rain on 4th of July. My son won't let me plant no corn, especially the contest corn, until May 1st. because he says now the soil temperature is all the same temperature. It's not dropping, it's not lowering. We can get it up at the same time, and it'll take off better. And he's 100% correct.
I was just going to say, Tanner, talking about athletes and the best of the best might have a ritual. I'm going to guess they have a lot of consistency. So when you talk consistency of soil temperature, do you have a consistency of taking leaf samples like every week or month? And data is the currency of moving forward to get these big numbers. What did that look like? I mean, what were you doing to collect the data to make sure that you were on par?
Well, when you get your fertility right, and you're on kind of this program as we're speaking of it, you pretty well know what to do, when to do it, and you're not going to show a lot of need for tissue sampling. Now, we're in a perfect position where probably if we tissue sample every week, because we can change it with the SDI system. You know, center pivot can to some degree, but we can change it all. If there's something shows up, I can fix it by the next day at dinner.
I like the old adage, I'd rather be proactive than reactive. While I love data, and we need every data point we can get to go, a lot of growers base their decisions in season on the test, and we're behind the curve at that point.
When you set off tissue sample and it comes back that you're deficient in boron, you're already lost it. That happened last week. You're behind. You need to know what to do before that happens.
Yeah, that's good. Dave doesn't have the mic, which is great, but he's having the same realization that it's too late, too slow. But, John, we got to talk. Some of the drone technology is helping you make some quick decision, or giving you some data points to make quick decisions.
It is. No, I mean, and I kind of think about the years of tissue tests that people put together. It starts to become a roadmap, like you said. Yeah. You start to just know where you go. Right here in Denver, when I showed up, I had no clue how to get anywhere. But after a couple of days, I at least know how to get back to the hotel. I kind of think about it, your tissue tests the same way. Year after year, we find trends, right? We understand what we need to do. And then we can utilize things, and I'm coming down with Billy, and my whole family is actually this summer, and we're going to fly fields so that we can help make decisions on a more real-time basis.
Yeah, what he was saying there, and I think I told you this story last night. Our big thing is not row crop. We raise 200 acres of mini seedless watermelons. So that's where my son's head is all the time. But what we learned there was he started putting in moisture sensors in the bed where the watermelons are growing, and he put in he started taking tissue samples weekly. He said, Dad, we got the drip tape in the bed. We can change it. Let's take tissue samples. I said, son, do whatever you want to. I'm too old. I'm not going down that road, but do whatever you want to. Well, he's a big spreadsheet guy. He's got everything we got on a spreadsheet. It makes sense. He started taking the moisture sensors data and the tissue sample data and putting it according to yield in a spreadsheet. He did that for 3 years, and now he don't do either one. Why? Because he's got that program that you want. It's here. It's not here. I'd be lost if something happened. But he knows, because of what he's seen for 3 years in a row with the tissue samples and the moisture sensors, that he needs to put in boron this week. He don't need to put in magnesium for 3 more weeks to boost that crop just a little bit.
Yeah. Dave always says data is the currency of everything. No matter what industry you're in, you got to have the good information in order to make a good decision on the way out. But I still love the way that you've explained it to us off mics, John, that AgX puts a whole team approach, a whole scope approach. So kind of go over that again for those that haven't heard that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, so whether we're talking high yield or you're talking your production acre, it starts with what's your goal. Right, and I was with Billy, and I love being able to sit down, and that means what's your goal, what's your yield goal, and then once you tell us that, we can start to build you a program. And we're a foliar nutritional nitrogen management company, but we still start with what is your base fertility, what can we do to help you get there, and then it's just about piecing everything together as we go. Right, it's getting it where you need it at the time, and what's going to be the best resource that you have. And things change from year to year. I mean, when you have irrigation, we can control a little bit of that, but we still have to make those in-field decisions. On the go. And so it's also kind of that part of the art of agriculture. We often think about all the data, but there's also an art to it. I think about my grandpa, and he went to school till he was in 6th grade, and he was a very successful farmer.
and there was an art to it, but he knew the science to it as well. And that's what I like to see come together, right? But we have to set that stage, no matter where we are, whether we're in Iowa or we're down here pushing high hidden yields. We have to set that stage because we can never go back and recapture it once we've lost it.
Where have you guys been?
We just got back from the Custom Harvesters event where operators from across the country couldn't stop talking about Steinbauer performance modules.
Yeah, they're seeing up to 25% more power, better fuel efficiency, all with smarter injector duration and not altering the rail pressure for safe and reliable performance.
If you're looking to maximize your machine's potential, go to steinbauer.us and tell them Farm for Profit sent you to get yours today.
Well, Mitch, I only got one more question for you, and that is, you're a winner, so you're a NCGA winner, and of course, ladies like winners. Did you get any special treatment? Your wife, did she get a shirt that says, "Yeah, I'm married to an NCGA winner," or anything like that? Did you buy her one?
No, she's gonna stay in the background just like she is and not be seen.
For those, my last question is, for someone that has never participated in a yield contest before, what would you say to encourage them to give it a shot?
Get with Billy Carter or somebody like him, and the first thing, it starts with that soil test. You got to get that right.
Yep.
You got to get that right.
And Billy, if they want to do that and they want to reach out to you guys or anybody on the AgX team, how do they reach out to you?
Hey, you can get on our website there at AgX. You can talk to your local dealers there in the area that's got our pretty signs up saying they're a dealer, and we'll just be tickled to death to work with anyone. Whether it's myself or anyone else on the AgX team, what I like about AgX is that grower is first and foremost. You get a lot of that said in the industry as just lip service, but that is true about AgX.
Completely agree.
How many miles a year do you put on a pickup?
I will average 7,500, 8,000 miles a month.
A month?
A month.
You just said a month.
A month.
You're almost as many miles as Dave. Hey, that's true. That's ground truthing a lot of things that you guys just talked about in this show. So I want to thank you for having us here at Commodity Classic in your booth. Two, appreciate the time and the knowledge transfer that you give to every producer that's willing to listen. I do think that's huge in making agriculture just better and move forward. Also, just want to say congratulations and best of luck to everybody next year. Give it a run.
That's right. Thank you, fellas.
I got one after hours question. There's always one extra. So let's say I think I'm pretty good at agronomy. I got pretty good yields. Can I come and talk with AgX? You guys listen to what I got. Maybe I don't do any business with you. Is there like a free consult or something with that? Or, you don't want to waste your time as sales guys. I don't want to waste my time as the farmer. But for people walking by, they're thinking, all right, let's talk this, but I think I already got a pretty good doggone deal. What are you guys up for that?
I'll talk agronomy all day long, bud.
All day, every day.
That's kind of what I thought. Well, hey, listeners, thanks.
Let me say this about him, at least Billy, and maybe his boss don't want to hear that, but I'm going to say it anyway. He'll walk up and say, all right, look at this. All right, let's do this, this, and this. But don't buy our boron. You can buy this cheaper over here, and it's just as good. It's not about what he can sell me. It's about making my crop better. Now, and then he'll walk up and say, now, you using this product? Yeah, you need to use this one because it's cheaper, and we've added a few things to it that'll help you more. So,
just in case you didn't hear that, it's not about what he's selling. It's about making his crop better. It's a good way to end the show. Hey, well, thanks to our guests, Billy, John, and Mitch, and thanks to the listeners. We're the Farm for Profit podcast here at the AgX booth. If you'd like to talk agronomy, come to the sound of my voice. We'll talk agronomy with you.